Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Coming up next on tonight's installment of Speed Gaming Events, we have a match scheduled for the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer 2020 tournament right here, right now. I'm Teeks88, and joining me behind the mic is Leslie Pro04. Leslie, welcome.
Hi, Teeks. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good Friday night, weekend hype. And for our match tonight, the big factor is, can the creator of Mario 3 Randomizer, Fred Coughlin, play spoiler and force DLP into a tiebreak with Ryko Rider, or is DLP going to punch their ticket to brackets tonight? And we're already underway with the first bracket flags for this year's tournament, which is Vanilla World, but the stages have been shuffled along with where the locks are. Also, this one, 4, disgusting.
One of the nice perks about 1-4 in general is that you don't really have to worry about too many enemies, and the auto-scrollers are, of course, disabled, but it's always good to just watch your step because there could just be a fire chomp or a fire snake right around the corner as you're getting into that exit pipe. So up next we have 1-3, so DLP has a bit of a short lead right now. He takes the item from the wooden block, it ends up being a star. So we'll see if he ends up going for the item, and since it's that early in the game, it's probably not a bad idea. You can probably get some good items here as well, so we'll see if it's anything good.
Fred bailed on it. Those fire snakes made setting up for it impossible.
Yeah, that's a bit of a rough break. If he was able to carry that star and just take out those fire snakes, things would probably have gone a little differently. So it looks like DLP will have a star to start things off. Probably not what he was going for. Probably was hoping for a cloud or a hammer, but still not a real issue at this point.
Seeing an awful lot of stars early, although I doubt a runner's mind because those piranhas that are in the way, bye-bye, out the way.
Level 1-1 can be deceptively a bit tricky, just because some of the enemy placement can be a little awkward just trying to get through some of the platforming. So up next we have 1-2, so yeah, now we actually have another star, so we'll see how many more levels it takes before we actually see a legit power up like a mushroom. Okay, there we go.
I swear I rolled a practice seed like this recently, where there was like only one mushroom and all stars.
Yeah, I've had my share of seeds like that as well, and it ended up being like 4 consecutive World 6 levels in a row. Ooh, Fred having a bit of a rough time with those Sludge Bros, especially when you know, you're just kind of soloing it with the shallow water. Not a really good combination.
I mean, it could be worse. Could be a Fire Pro combination in that area.
Oh, yeah.
But that is a hammer. Oh, DLP coming up short on the jump.
I couldn't tell if he was trying to get P-speed just now so he could just kind of dash through it, and then, you know, if he had that speed, he could have a bit of a lighter jump and still maintain some pretty good momentum to get over that ledge. So it looks like they're sink and sink right now. Probably a bit late for both of them to go for the item up top. Looks like DLP tried to get the clip, but they're still pretty much neck and neck right now.
One difference is DLP has fire, Fred doesn't, and fire kill on Boom Boom is a bit faster.
Close to about 3 seconds faster.
But another difference is DLP hasn't played the Hammer Bro yet.
That's a really good point as well. Yeah, it looks like he took a little bit of damage, but he's still maintaining Big Mario. And oh, okay, he gets a flower, so that'll definitely come in handy for when he fights Larry Koopa on the airship. Once again, they're still maintaining pretty consistent pace with one another. It's like DLP opted to take the upper route, so that gave him a good opportunity to build some P-speed without any objects in his way interrupting. So looks like both races are going to be going for the 3-stomp kill.
It was a two-hitter, though, because one of the flags that's randomized is random Koopa HP, which can be anywhere between 1 and 5. Because that's plus or minus 2 HP from Vanilla. And near stink coming out of World 1.
Right, so it'll be interesting to see how the World 2 map layout can go, because it could either be a pretty long world, or you could just have a pipe warp that just takes you right to the opposite end of the map. So it looks like both of our racers are going to be playing at least 4 levels in a row without any shortcuts opportunities. So starting off with level 2-4, so it's looks like the enemy layout is pretty consistent with Vanilla. Ooh, fcoughlin just having a bit of an issue over there.
Yeah, I got caught by the hammer bro towards the end. If anything, it would look like Mario tripped over its face, which, honestly, that just sounds painful, no matter how you spin that.
I love the way the Hammer Bros operate in this level in particular, just the way he's clipping through some of those platforms.
Now, one thing worth noting is I picked up on this in practice, is that if you have a tail and one of those Hammer Bros have clipped into a wall, that tail can still reach into the wall and take it out.
That's a really good point to bring up, because yeah, if a shortcut doesn't seem evident right away, just trying to get that bro out of your way is a good opportunity to move forward. So we're going to be coming up on the World 2 fort. It looks like Fred has taken about 4 seconds to get some fireworks and a 5-up. So it's a good insurance policy to have.
Oh yeah, because you can burn lives real quick in this rando DLP. Use a star to start Desert Fort. I like this strategy personally, because it's a strategy that I've held on to since I was a kid, and it translates really well to rando.
Didn't look like DLP tried to build any P-speed on the upper section of on the bottom section of that spike room, so we just did a bit of a damage boost to get to that door a little bit quicker. Just making his way past the hopper, which is, just considering, the enemy layout, that's definitely not a bad idea.
Yeah, that wasn't a pleasant enemy layout for that room, and not one that would lend itself to building P-speed.
Yeah, for sure. If it was anything like a Boo or a Dry Bones, it would have been a totally different story. None of our racers had hammers right now, so unfortunately, none of them can use a hammer to skip any of the levels. It doesn't look like the pipe warp is.
I think they do, but I think DLP opted to save theirs for later.
Okay, yeah, to be fair, I couldn't see what the item was from the Princess Peach letter.
Maybe I'm misremembering things, I don't know. I mean, they could be saving the hammers to try and get a second one to use 2 in World 3. Jury's out on that. Uh-oh, it's too soon for this game. For those who missed it, my second race last night had a quicksand level with Boss Bass, which DLP is playing flawlessly. We both got tripped up by it. We both clouded it.
The Angry Sun level can be kind of a nightmare with Boss Bass just hanging out there, so in that sort of situation, it's usually a good idea to make sure that he's always in plain sight, so you just know how to navigate around him, because if you knock him out with a fireball or a star or whatnot, then he can just kind of respawn in thin air and just kind of take you by surprise before you have a chance to get out of his way.
Nice dodges by Fred as DLP takes down a Fire Bro for a P-Wing. Knowing what levels come up, there are some good ones farther down later in the game, like 7-6, 6-9. that are really conducive to using a P-Wing, so that could come into play there.
So it looks like we got confirmation from Dragonfire in chat that that the racers did get a hammer from the World 1 Hammer Bro. So yeah, it's probably not a bad idea that either of our racers held on to it, because yeah, if you're confident with the levels that you know you're getting to encounter in World 2 anyway, that's probably a better opportunity to use it in a more strategic way in something like Worlds 3 or 6, where the overworld map can be a bit more complicated.
I can confirm, map is very complicated as you get later in the game. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. That's a classic baseball-related poem, by the way, for those not in the know. Well, that's interesting. That's an anchor.
It's also worth noting that the anchors count as a wild card in SMB3 Randomizer. They don't really have much of a purpose in vanilla, because they just usually keep the airship in place for an additional turn, if in case you should you should lose a life on it for any reason. But yeah, if you know that one anchor is going to be say a cloud, then any other anchors that you encounter along the way will also be clouds as well.
Shoutouts to Zero Wing for correcting me on that. That's a sketch/skit pertaining to baseball, not a poem. Oh, I need to catch up on my literature sometimes, but we only have so many hours in a day.
So it looks like DLP is making his way through 3-3. It's a bit tricky to maintain the P-Speed strat that you would ordinarily do in vanilla, but he's still able to navigate through there pretty smoothly, despite some of the enemy patterns that came up along the way. Looks like Fred's having a pretty solid job on that on the P-Speed. Speaking of which, able to maintain it for pretty much the majority of the level. So that should give him a good opportunity to catch up a bit.
You missed that last jump, and then you have to wait for the water to come down, so then you lose time there.
Yeah, I hate to see it.
Yep, we've all done it at one point or another.
So DLP had some pretty smooth navigation past the stretch buoys in the water fort. 3F2. Alright, so coming up we have 3-8, so doesn't look like we have boss pass to worry about this time around, so as long as they're able to keep rhythm in the water, just keep their head above the surface, they should be in pretty good shape with nothing in their path. The upper platform, and we get there to the exit in no time at all.
So basing off of what we're seeing here, it looks like DLP's about one stage ahead, and 3-4 moves pretty quick, although some of the enemy placements can slow things down, as with basically every other stage in Randomizer. Except here, it's no problem. He just goes P-Speed.
Despite a couple minor mishaps, it looks like fcoughlin is still doing a pretty solid job keeping up. So, I mean, just a one-level distance between them is still very much striking distance. So it's still very much either racer's game.
Both runners have spawned an end card.
They'll be going into it at the same time. Looks like they both have two totally different permutations of the end card, so... DLP doing a really solid job just finishing up his whole set just really early in the game. So he looks like he got a hammer suit for his trouble. He still has an additional anchor.
Look at this. Both runners cleared out their respective cards. Very well done.
Very impressive. It's not very often you see that happen.
We found the pipe that goes to Wendy, but there's a lock there. DLP's opting to look for the fort.
It looks like he's going to have to either play some musical pipes or just two additional levels in order to reach that fort. So he's deciding that it's not really worth the struggle. So you know what? I'm just going to hammer through here and then just keep things going.
Can't say I blame him for doing that.
He's going to want to hold on to that fire flower because, yeah, Wendy's going to be coming up. Ooh, and gets hit by that jet fire.
Fred takes the pipe that DLP didn't go, and unfortunately we know that it's not the correct... Oh, DLP gets tripped by Wendy.
I think Fred decided that he's going to opt out of doing that additional fort as well, and then just use his hammer to get to the airship. He's really not far behind at all. So taking that death there to Wendy is going to allow Fred to catch up a bit, and he still has his fire flower, so that'll give him a good opportunity going into the match. So we have 1 hit, 2, 3, and Wendy's a 4-hitter. Didn't quake though. Wasn't necessarily a Baconator, Wendy. So, but she was pretty much on track.
Yeah, well, Wendy is that one Koopaling fight where it can get away from you really quick. Nice patience by Fred, and that is a nicely done fight.
And no damage fight on Wendy is always it's always nothing to scoff at.
Well, based off that layout, it looks like World 4's got an extra fort. These flags do have one nifty little feature to them. Fortress Shuffle is on, so a Worlds 1 through 7 can have anywhere between 1 to 3 forts. World 4 is always going to have 8, no matter what.
So we're going to be going to 4F1 right now. It's a very good use of the star because some of those enemy spawns can just drop right over your head. So good opportunity just to clear a path for yourself to build P-Speed, get that flump out of your way as soon as possible, and then take the upper route instead, as opposed to just going through the pipe because yeah, just going overhead will be a couple seconds faster. So he gets a nice fire flower for his trouble and gets a nice quick kill on Boom Boom.
Fred's not too far behind as he comes into 4F1. Different strat though, no Starman. And that's the right one. So by that, admittedly, it would be nice to know what fort wound up being added to this world, because then you know that world's got one less fort to deal with. But I can see why you wouldn't go out of your way for it. But that is a hammer for DLP.
So it looks like DLP is going to wind up to start building P-Speed so we could just jet past this World 4 airship. And then we'll see what Iggy has in store for him. Took a little bit of damage towards the end, but he was still able to capitalize on a bit of that time save.
Fred's gonna miss out on the hammer, but he's gonna keep pace at least. And having the tail actually working to his advantage, taking the faster top route with ease and not needing P-Speed.
That's a really good point as well. Yeah, when you have that tail there, you can just pretty much glide over some of the bigger caps that you would have to cross in that airship. So P-Speed definitely wouldn't be necessary, and you know the time gap between the two approaches is pretty minuscule. So coming up, we have 5-3, so it's definitely one of the longer levels that aren't a default auto-scroller. So looks like DLP is going to opt to just play this one out. I don't know if he had any clouds in his inventory from when he played the end card game.
I don't recall seeing any, but in an interesting twist, we have got Karibo's Shoe in 5-3. This level being their regular home, but they're not in their typical spawn points.
While there is a predetermined P-speed strat that you could do for level 5-3 in the vanilla SMB3, the enemy arrangements in Randomizer can definitely make things a bit more complicated. So considering all the pit stops that you have to make in order to, avoid some of these spinies and fire piranhas and anything else that can come up along the way, that could have a lot of time-related implications. So it's not very unusual to see some racers just decide to use their cloud on that level. But considering he has to, both of them have to go that way anyway, and then to get to the fort and then turn back to once they unlock the bridge, they didn't really have any choice in the matter anyway.
I mean, there is a choice, but you'd have to be low lives, clear the fort, and then take an intentional game over to avoid playing the level. Only if you have low lives does that strategy really pay off.
That's a really fair point as well.
I should know I've avoided 8-1 in that spot before doing that.
So we don't see any 5-9 on the ground level. So yeah, if any of them have the cloud in the inventory, at least it's there if they decide to skip over that as well. And it looks like yeah, that's
no cloud.
Exactly. Looks
I'd play the hammer, bro. See if you get one there. Fred's like, ah, to heck with it.
I see a blue lock in the sky and a blue fort on the ground, so it's probably the fort that they're going to both have to play if they decide not to hammer that lock.
There was a cloud on the ground. However, there is a pipe that goes around that lock. And our anchor's a fire flower.
Right, it looks like DLP got a really nice P-speed boost off of that dry bones. Just avoiding the potaboos along the way. Say hi to Boom Boom and bye to Boom Boom. We have a pipe warp, so he was able to go around that blue lock, so he didn't even have to play the fort. Fred will be the first one going to the World 5 airship, and we'll see how many hits it takes to take out Roy Koopa. And he's a two-hitter. Now we have
Here comes DLP with P-speed. I don't know, the turnpike can sometimes be slow at rush hour. And not a
coming up first and
not a friendly start to this World 6 with that one pipe behind the rock.
It's a really clutch tail whip on Boss Bass.
Yeah, Boss Bass whipped on that grab attempt, and Fred was close to that being a tie. And this is one game where ties don't go to the runner.
A really nice damage boost towards the end, just ditching that tail and just piecing out with full P-speed ahead. Up next we have 6-5, so this is going to be one of the novel puzzle levels that are in the original SMB3. So both of our racers are going to have to pick up a tail in order to get that in order to get to the upper path where the nippers are, or at least where they normally would be. But just due to the nature of Randomizer, we'll most likely see some other enemies up top. Only a Paragoomba and a Red Koopa, so that should be pretty easy to navigate around. Ooh, DLP just lost his tail just to one of those enemies there. I think it was a Paragoomba.
Yeah, it was. That's the randomness of Randomizer really takes the despawn strat off the table for this level, in my opinion.
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, not just yours, but to the chagrin of many a runner of vanilla SMB3 rando.
DLP making easy work of that Goomba and Paragoomba up top, and he'll be following Fred shortly over to 4-1.
So a World 6 fort was put in World 4, so that means there's only 2.
Very nice. We'll have a hammer for World 6, so depending on where the warp pipes lead everybody, that might actually be a nice shortcut to the end of the map.
Fred choosing 6-1 over 6-3. A sound call. Oh, that star was huge for Fred as we have an ambush boss bass sighting. Oh no, he got gobbled right after the Starman ran out.
Ah, you just hate to see it.
He's going the other way for 6-3. After that, I don't blame him.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the platform jumping in 6-3 can be a little intimidating at first, but there's a lot less enemy spawns that can really put you in immediate danger, like a fire chomp. So might be a little more time consuming just having to wait for some of those jumps, but yeah, at least he still makes a pretty safe passage out of there. DLP is really doing a good job capitalizing on both P-Speed and the star usage to navigate past the boss bass and the obstacles along the way in 6-1. So looks like they only a couple of seconds apart going into the World 6 airship, because I know DLP has that extra hammer if he's going to break that lock, which it turns out he does. So we'll see how Lemmy fares against them.
We've got a strategy divergence here. DLP opting to go for the P-Wing route, which is much faster and going to allow him to get to the boss a little bit faster. It's a one-hitter, so all you got to do is stomp and done with the shrimp.
Shoutouts to Matty J. Never even considered that the overhead strat for the World 6 airship, just using the tail to get to the upper section. So, just being able to zip right past those jet flames, it saves a really good chunk of time. And I didn't even realize that was a thing until I watched DLP do it.
There's also a clip you can do to save time. And we welcome those of you who are coming in with the raids from SpeedGaming Française and SpeedGaming Main, as this is Mario 3 Randomizer group stage between DLP316 and the creator, fcoughlin, as we are trying to find our way around this World 7. And DLP, by virtue of having an extra hammer, is going to get through this world much faster. Fred's taking a P-Wing into 7-1, which is pretty fast, admittedly.
Really impressive P-Speed strats going into that World 7 airship.
And we got 2 Baconators from Ludwig von Koopa, as DLP is the first of our 2 runners into World 8.
I blinked and then World 7 was over.
Well, he had an extra hammer, which is going to turn out to be the difference maker as it stands.
If I
Now, World 8 can still tie our runners up in terms of routing, so it ain't over yet. Not until we see that done in the IRC.
If I remember correctly, DLP had an extra hammer that he got from the ground bro in World 5, so that definitely came into handy later on.
And look, Ma, one-hand stage on the start, but DLP slides right on by. Gonna use that hammer, he is. As Fred is going into or not, he's paying the 100 coin toll to get out of 7F2 to get back into his inventory.
And he still does have his hammer if he wants to get past that line.
Air Force.
Definitely an interesting routing decision by fcoughlin because he still has that hammer in his inventory if he wants to take a chance on those pipe warps to get to the end of that map.
Maybe he's thinking a bridge has to be built.
It definitely wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility just with Randomizer in general. That is definitely a thing that could happen.
Still 7F2, not a fun level. In fact, as a kid, the first time I beat the level, I used a hammer suit.
So it looks like DLP is doing some more pipe checks to see which one will bring up to Bowser's Castle. Still some more navigating through the dark room, though. You can see what it is. And it's going to be one of the first tanks in World 8, so he knows it's not going to break any locks or open any bridges, so he's just not even going to bother with it.
Understandable why play a level you don't have to, as Fred's going into the World 7 airship with a P-Wing. This is a good stage to use one for, too.
Yeah, it looks like DLP is still doubling down on the possibility that he completed enough levels that he could just get to Bowser's Castle. So, since that super tank's right there, you might as well do it. That could very well be the one. If not, then at least he knows where the Navy is and where the fort in the dark room is, and it won't take him very long to get back to either of those. He does have a hammer suit in his inventory, so he'll be able to charge in their full force once that bridge is open.
Meanwhile, it looks like Fred is in position for a vertical screen wrap, and he's got it. When you do that with the P-Wing and grab the wand up high enough, you do save about 4 seconds. Meanwhile, DLP has built the bridges, one to the required super tank, to build the other bridge to get to Bowser.
So we'll see what route that DLP decides to take through Bowser's Castle. Will he go the upper route? Will he do the clip? Will he try to brave it out with the fireballs? Or will he take it a little bit safer with the lower route? He's going upper. Will it be a clip?
That's what he's going for.
Alright.
I think I developed a setup for that last night, admittedly, that I'm going to see if I can make consistent going forward. No, he's going top route.
Saying a consistent route for the clip, because I know that that's sub-pixel dependent, and depending on how you build P-speed, there could also be some frame rules involved as well.
It's possible, but meanwhile for DLP316, he just says, "Hi Bowser, bye Bowser."
Peace.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for DLP.
As with that, timer runs down. The passage through the door.
He has an official SRL time of 33:40. Very nicely done.
And with that result, DLP clinches a tie with Ryko Ryder in their group. So, depending on this next race, either DLP moves on to brackets, or there will be a tiebreaker race.
Well, it looks like Fred Coughlin has taken the P-Wing route through level 8-1. Able to get through there, smooth sailing. Further clouds in his inventory, so he's going to be going into the Navy, and he'll be disappointed to see that it's not going to be the one that unlocks Bowser's Castle.
I believe it was the Air Force that opened up the bridge to the super tank that led to Bowser's Castle. Yeah, that sounded as confusing as it was being spoken.
I don't even think DLP even played the Navy or the fort.
No, he didn't. Although one of those might have been required to get to the Air Force, because remember, DLP used a hammer.
Oh, that's a very good point as well. So he's getting warmer. You were right, that Air Force did end up opening up the path to the super tank. I just get a little bit nervous whenever I watch racers do the Air Force with the tail, just because it's very easy to miscalculate your jumps when you have that slightly slower physics. It's very easy just to flutter off some of those platforms.
This is a nerve-wracking level, admittedly, because in vanilla, you've got the auto-scrolling nonsense that, thankfully, we don't have to deal with in Randomizer, so we can just make the jumps at our own pace and not have to worry about the game's pace dictating when we have to jump.
There's no opportunity to really build P-speed in the non-auto-scrolling Air Force, but as long as you're keeping rhythm with your jump placements, you can just pretty much breeze your way through the rocky ranges and not really have to worry about slowing down or having to turn back and whatnot. So we found his way to the super tank, and he's still... Okay.
I think he second-guessed the movement there. Or he didn't mean to go into that pipe, one of the two.
Even if he wanted to do a pipe check there, it's never a bad idea just to play what's right in front of you. 1, 2, and 3. Boom Boom goes down, and then he'll be entering Bowser's Castle shortly. Hammer shooting a star, and he's going to be charging forward. We'll see. Does he take the upper route as well?
Interesting. Uh-oh.
Ooh, no.
I was about to say those roto discs are randomized so they can trip things up.
Still has the opportunity to drop to the midsection right underneath the door and see if there's a Fire Flower power-up. But it looks like he's just going to brave it out with the fireballs and then just go straight for the traditional kill with Bowser. We got a little tripped up by those fireballs, but he's still making his way through there. We don't have a laser on that statue, so we're in there. Here's Bowser.
Now for a trick you can... Something that you can surprise your friends with is Bowser's hitbox is pretty much in the same place where his ego is. In his head.
You'll notice whenever you do traditional kills on these Bowser fights, you don't want to get too far to the left, because even though you're just still underneath his head, sometimes the fireballs can still make contact with you. So you want to be leaning slightly left to the right to guide Bowser, but not too far.
Yeah, you get too far while you're playing with fire, and play with fire, you get burned. But anyway, get your GGs in chat for fcoughlin. who has finished the first of our 2 seeds tonight with an official SRL time of 39 minutes 12 seconds, and it was really close for most of that race.
It turns out a difference in hammer inventory ended up being what influenced a lot of the latter half of the game, especially towards World 6 and 7, and then some of the routing differences that came with it in World 8. But yeah, just in terms of performance in the individual levels, I think both of our racers did a fantastic job. So looks like Fred and DLP are going to be setting up for the grouped the flag set 2 for round 2 of this race. So not going to want to miss it. So we'll be back in just a few minutes.
And we're just about ready to go for race 2 tonight. This will be using Tournament Flags 2, where most everything is shuffled between the levels, their locations, as well as the pipes, fortresses, and locks. And with the fortress shuffle, the seed can go really fast, be really long, or be something in between.
There's actually a lot more things in common between the Group 2 flags than whatnot. So there's going to be a lot of overlap. Like we're still going to be seeing the end card every 80,000 points that are accrued. And yeah, fort counts are going to be shuffled within each respective world, as Leslie Pro has mentioned. Hammers do still break locks, and we might actually see a couple beta levels every now and then. Levels that are still coded into the game but never got became accessible in the final release of the game.
And speaking of, within the past year between the last tournament and this one, a 9th beta level was added to the mix.
You'll notice in Randomizer version 1.3, Fred finished up, or at least added an exit to the level 1-6 beta. So there's a good possibility we'll get to see that tonight, and then we could yeah, we can comment more on that as we see it.
So to reset before we get started, by winning the first race, DLP has clinched at least a tiebreaker race with Ryko Ryder. A win by DLP clinches a spot in bracket stages, while if Fred wins, DLP will have to play that tiebreaker that I just mentioned.
So it looks like the countdown will begin shortly. So everybody, get your guesses in. What will be the first? World that we encounter? I'm going to go with World 3.
I'm going 7. I have a reason for that, but I'll get into that later.
Right, and we're off to the races. And you guess World 5? Well, there you have it. And it looks like yeah, you already see a split in the path, so you have an opportunity to play the tower and see which pipe that it will lead you to. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take you to the sky. Alternatively, you could take the pipe warp that's hidden behind this tank that DLP is playing right now.
It's worth noting that the reason I had picked World 7 as we see an early boss bass is because I was on commentary for a race early in the tournament that had a vanilla world order on this flag set, which is a 1 in 5,040 chance. So to be honest, I figured, hey, we saw it, vanilla world order, why not have it go 7 through 1 before 8?
I remember being mind blown when I saw that that one tournament race where you had the vanilla world order. So yeah, if it was going to happen anywhere, then of course it would just happen in the tournament setting. So it looks like DLP had some better enemy spawns this time around in World 2F, so he was able to get some P-speed over that moving spike bed. room. So he broke the blue. So he finished the blue fortress, which means that he broke the blue lock in the sky section. So that's going to definitely do him a favor in the long run.
Fred found a hammer though, so he won't. Good news, he won't have to go back. Bad news is, in terms of resource management, that's going to be at least one extra hammer for DLP later on.
That's a really good point as well.
Ooh, Fred got caught up in the mess of fire chomps.
We're going to see some frog strats going through the tower. Ooh, and that it was very short-lived, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, the block also gave a Starman, which, when you aren't small Mario or have a frog suit, you can only get up those pipes with key speed, because otherwise Mario's flips will keep him from going up.
That's a really good point. On top of the fact that you want to have P-Speed going into that second room just so that you can have an easier time getting past the thwomps, because just due to their elevation, if you're not fast enough, it's very easy just for them to drop right on your head.
And that would be
P-Speed to make things a lot easier.
Your day. So it looks like, yeah, DLP is just going for 5-2, so maybe Fred gets away with this, possibly.
There's no way that that Hammer Bro is going to cross over to where DLP is, you know, just based on where its own position is, and it's not going to just overlap into his space. So unfortunately, DLP is going to be missing out on that hammer.
Yeah, that is a bit of a bad break for DLP, is that hammer that Fred used wound up getting away from him, so that's given Fred a bit of a cushion heading into this second world, which will be World 7. Oh, as for the joke on that, it is Big John is in World 8 already, but Mitch already beat the game twice. For some reason, the 8 doesn't show up on that message.
So Fred's doing a bit of a pipe check through World 7, so still hoping for that opportunity to maybe break a lock once it gets to the southeast island. That's that third pipe on that first island that he can check, and then maybe hopefully that'll be the one. I haven't had a chance to see the far east end of that map, so unfortunately still going to have to do some... He's going to have to get a couple levels down in order to get to that section.
It's very easy to get turned around in World 7.
So DLP is going to be making the rounds as well, since he's now in World 7 as well. See if he has any luck finding that special exit. Do a thorough pipe check as well before he decides to play anything as well.
It makes sense to do that.
I definitely would have done the same thing in that position.
Found the way to the Toad House, so it looks like the action scene panel on the southwest island, rather, is the way to go.
Both gonna go past that that piranha to see what's beyond that pipe. So if you don't have a music box, just skip right over it. Then having a star to just run right through those munchers is probably your next best option.
Here's another stage that would be good to start with a star. The third hand level. Flying Cheep Cheeps galore.
Running through that level with P-Speed, the Cheep Cheeps aren't really a big deal, but if you're taking a pit stop to grab that power-up, then you're gonna be surrounded on all sides in all likeliness. Ooh. And he gets a hammer suit for his trouble. Very nice.
That is a plus for both of our runners. So both forts are right here. Might as well play them both if you have to.
It's like Fred found his way over to the southeast island that he needs to get to that airship, so he's probably going to decide to hold on to his hammer since that fort is right there. Which, honestly, I can't blame him.
That, and that's a bridge that has to be built.
I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah, I mean, if you have to play it anyway, then it is what it is.
First one was
looked like he didn't have to play those two forts. Very nice.
Well, having to play one fort's better than having to play two.
I gotta say that having a tail is especially advantageous going into the World 5 fortress as DLP is right now, because you know, it's very easy just to get tripped up by if the rotatists decide to reverse their trajectory, so they could just go right into, you know, just slam right into your face. So, you know, additional safety if you have the, you know, if you have that foresight. But even so, you'll have enough damage boost just to get to the end with no problem.
Fred going right into the card game. Wound up getting a Fire Flower first. Wait a minute, I think he got that off the Fire Flower card. Can't say you see that every day in a randomizer.
So, see a P-Wing from the second Piranha level. So Fred will be the first one going into the World 7 airship, which ends up being the World 3 airship. So he's going to be fighting Ludwig Koopa on flat ground, so probably not the most convenient, even if you wanted to do a fire kill on him.
Although that might get scary and hairy if Ludwig's got moon shoes on. Which is not the case. Uh-oh. He got caught in the earthquake, and the stun lock took him down.
Ooh. So now they're both pretty much neck and neck going into this airship right now. Both flying over the mast. Taking a little bit easy going for that Ludwig fight because you had that opportunity to get the off-screen one grab.
Yeah, Fred's not
gonna go for it. Does he do it?
DLP's 2.
He just.
Yeah, unfortunate placement.
Yeah, he barely missed it. At least Mario's head would have to be off-screen in order for it to work. At least at this point, they're both only a couple frames apart.
Yep, and the King's complaining that Mario sunk his battleship. And I see Bowser is being a classic meme lord with the old meme, all your base are belong to us. DLP got P-Speed on Super Tank thanks to a speed boost, or rather a damage boost, and they're in perfect sync just about heading into this boom boom fight.
That was beautiful.
Got some divergence. Fred's playing the fort. It's 7F1 Fort Knox. While DLP is moving on, gambling that that fort's not going to be needed. It'll be interesting to see how this decision pans out as DLP's now in 1-3.
Looks like Fred has taken the option to go through the effort of getting the Tanuki suit. I'm not sure if he was if he wanted to hold on to his P-Wing in his inventory for something else.
And DLP's going backstage. Just a mushroom.
So now we have 4-5. Not really a level where you can make use of any P-speed strats, but as long as you have some pretty careful platforming jumps, you could pretty much get through this level in the same way you would with vanilla, just avoiding some of the piranha plants that come up along the way, and then just steering clear of those bullet bills, and he'll be right out of there, no problem.
Interesting to note that that level 4-5 was the first instance of the turning bullet bills that turned back as if they were homing in on Mario. Now, admittedly, 2D doesn't quite do that justice compared to some of the later 3D Mario games. As, wow, DLP finds a pipe. And he finds 7F2.
My favorite. Or at least it would be my favorite if I had a hammer suit at my disposal, but
Meanwhile, Fred takes a pitfall.
So he's gonna navigate his way through the tunnel of love with 2 fire piranhas just taking aim at him, and he gets through there pretty smoothly. Nice duck slide just to get past them, and that star is gonna help him leverage his way right past to the exit pipe.
The 8-4 jump from Lost Levels, by the way. Fred got caught in the rebound, but DLP's out of 7F2. Yeah, navigating that with Hammer Suit is fun, but that broke the lock directly above. Could... Gonna wait until we see the last screen before I say anything. Oh my! This is a break in Fred's favor.
So
7F1 was required.
remember someone else pointing out a couple matches back that wherever you find 7F2, you're pretty much always guaranteed to find 7F1. And it looks like DLP had that hindsight in mind, so he was able to just go right in there and advance with the P-Wing. So he's going to actually save a little bit of time over Fred just by not having to go through the trouble of picking up a Tanuki suit.
Fred's clearing out the Hammer Bros, though. Takes a hit, though. First one had a cloud, what about this one? Star.
He's not going to go for that last hammer, though. He just wants to just peace out of World 6. He's had enough.
Can't say I blame him. Fred's not even going... Uh-oh, Fred's going right into 7F2. And going right back out, paying the 100 coin toll.
A bit of a gamble there, since he didn't know if the bridge was going to be there or not. And it looks like it paid off for him in the long run, so... Yeah, they're only just an airship apart, just separating the two racers, so it's still very much anybody's game.
It's worth noting that that lock was the last one, as he had already played 2 other forts.
We have another Shrimp Lemmy fight.
And Fred gets another vertical screen wrap, I believe. But yeah,
yep, Fred.
That is a bit of a bias, as Claris.com mentions in chat. Now, I have noticed it myself, the World 7 and 4 forts do tend to be together. Although I wonder if they are when they're in, like, Worlds 1 and 2. Ah, well, more on that another time.
Now that you mention it, I don't even think I've seen either of the World 7 forts in a World 1 seed.
I know first tournament I was in, 7F2 is the first fort in the desert. Actually, it was before Fort Shuffle, but... You know, DLP from one of the Hammer Bros stages gets 2 1-ups. That's always nice, because we're now in Carpet Fort, which appears to be the one fort this time in World 4. Wow, that P-Speed movement by DLP, holy smokes.
They did a really solid job just maintaining that P-Speed past all the stretch boosts and the roto discs and the, the swamp that was right below him, so really really impressive jump placement as well.
Kept the fire flower and barbecued Boom Boom in one of the worst rooms in the game to fight Boom Boom if he gets loose.
Yet to see anyone in any randomizer race or tournament whatsoever try to go for the clip under the door in 6F3. So it would be able to bypass the doorway where the elevator with the 3 enemies would spawn. So that would save about 7 seconds, but I mean, as swag as it could be, the repercussions can be pretty punishing if it doesn't work out, so can't really blame anyone for not going for it.
Unfortunately, Fred taking a death, having to restart 6F3, and this is allowing DLP to pull ahead, and we've got more Baconators, except only 2 this time.
I get my guessing that the next world is going to be 3. Speaking of Baconators.
I'm thinking it's 1 for some reason. See what I can do about that.
Alright, so it looks like World 3 it's going to be.
And we've got 4F1, which means probably 4F2 won't be too far behind, knowing how this rando likes to group the 4 forts together.
So it looks like the enemy arrangement in 4F1 was pretty consistent with the vanilla, maybe albeit just a couple minor differences, but DLP was able to manage most of the consistent P-Speed strat that you would normally do in the vanilla route, so yeah, being able to get that star and get a quick kill on Boom Boom, definitely a pretty solid job. DLP matching up a couple more pairs with the end card game, so we'll see what he got for his trouble. And he clears the whole board. Excellent.
Very nicely done. And look at this, the 2-hammer strat to get to a pipe. But first, a hammer bro.
Not worth having any more music boxes in your inventory at this point, especially since you're past World 7, and it's usually just most worthwhile to use them on the Piranha levels, since they usually take the longest. But nonetheless, it looks like his the 2 hammers that he burned in World 3 ended up paying off, because he's on the World 1 airship, ready to fight Wendy. So we'll see if she had her Baconators this time around.
Well, we've already seen both Earthquake and Koopa Kids DLP having a bit of trouble with the fire kill as the fireballs are bouncing under Wendy's hitbox. That can happen with the Koopalings, by the way.
Much like the Bowser fight, the hitbox is pretty much on the Koopaling's head, or at least the upper half of their sprites. So it's very possible for at least half of your fireballs to just go right through the boss sprites, if depending on how the trajectory of the fireball plays out.
Yeah, so I've had a number of those go 5-hole on me recently. Well, I did say something about a 1.6 beta, and Fred has found it.
Indeed, he has, and unfortunately, a bit of a miscalculation there. If there's one thing I appreciate about that level is that you could just pretty much run off that that second wooden platform and then just be right in front of the power-up block. Still very easy just to rub against one of the platforms you didn't mean to and then just fall to the pit that way. So it's very important just to be wary of your jump placement as you go along.
Yeah, it certainly is an interesting level from a design standpoint. Certainly a challenging one too. That is, speaking of, and it's worth me mentioning this. The reason 1.6 beta wasn't in the main game, or rather in the rando before, the floor in the goal area didn't have any collision whatsoever. So basically, it would be like version 1.0 of Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast, where you get to final story, get to the part as Eggman, and Eggman's in the infinite, going through the floor. Or so the videos mentioned on YouTube.
Yeah, Fred did a really good job just setting it up so that the level is actually beatable. And interesting to note is that was those moving horizontal platforms that are in the 1.6 beta. I feel like it paid homage to the platforms that you would encounter in the level 1-3 of SMB1.
They certainly do, as DLP gets a strat in 4.4, where you use the Lakitu as a springboard to go up and over the wall. Saves time versus swimming down below.
Unfortunately, we didn't see any P-Speed strats in level 4-4, but he was still able to get through that, you know, the gauntlet of the Spinies and the Lakitu without taking any damage, so that's always a plus.
Oh, this world too, in terms of forts, what a mess.
Really solid job from Fred just sniping out that boomerang bro with the hammer. This game. Some solid P-Speed strats coming from DLP on the Navy.
Those P-Speed strats look so good as Fred's taking a 5-up, understandably so. When you're down to 1 life, might as well take it.
Indeed. Ooh, that boss bass.
Oh my, and boss bass ambush attack in 2-3. And then a Paragoomba. Ooh, that's a rough way to lose Hammer Suit. He cloud it, and if, I don't know, he pulls out another Hammer Suit.
Anything I learned about Randomizer is that 2-3 is always pretty brutal. You know, just whether it ends up being the boss bass on the ground or maybe an angry sun looming around you as you're trying to get through that into that pipe at the end. Bass is staying at a pretty low elevation.
So Fred's found his way to the end of the water world. As DLP finds himself in the dark door maze of the World 8 fort.
Shame that Fred couldn't hold on to his hammer suit for later on, but it wouldn't have mattered in this fight anyway because the Koopalings are immune to hammers as it is. Well, we'll see if DLP is able to get the one cycle strat on with the P switch in 8F.
You got it.
It is very nicely done.
And that's not always a given in a randomizer seed.
Depending on the enemy spawns, like you could have a dry bone just end up right in front of you as you're trying to hold on to that speed. So even if you stomp its head, it could pretty much kill your momentum and lose you a couple frames. And it's also very easy to take damage if the rotodiscs decide to reverse their trajectory path.
DLP with a cloud from that hammer, bro, spreads in the Navy. DLP going for a clip this time on the World 6 airship, but wasn't able to get it. That's when you really only go for once, because if you get it first try, you save 4 seconds.
You could give it a second attempt to see if your subpixels are any better the second time around, but I'd say after that second time, it's probably worth just moving forward. An interesting thing to note about trying to do the clip when in the World 6 airship when the autoscroller is disabled is that oftentimes you can despawn some of the jet flames as you make your way past through the lower route.
That's one thing I've noticed about no autoscroller for those airships in general, is that sometimes those jet flames are despawned automatically. Don't have to do any fancy tricks or anything to get rid of them.
Another thing I noticed, like, I always found that the clip is a lot easier to pull off whenever the ship is actually in autoscroller mode. Seems like, just the way the ship moves and the way Mario moves, it's very easy just to maintain a fairly low subpixel value that would put you in a good position for that clip. But no such luck here, more often than less in Randomizer.
DLP was looking for a backup power up there, unfortunately sees a 1-up mushroom and is like, no thank you.
DLP making good use of his inventory, and he gets a hammer for his trouble, so he's passed pretty much most of the most complicated maps in the game, so he could decide to hold on to it to World 8 as it paid off for him in last race. I mean, he's making good use of his inventory thus far, especially with the World 3, and just having that Fire Flower ready for the Larry Koopa fight. Looks like Larry's going to be, I was going to say maybe a 3 or 4 hitter, but he was able to actually get the fire kill down.
Yeah, it was at least 4 hits, but with the fire kill, doesn't matter.
It looked like Fred was able to get the P-speed in 4-4 either. It's one of those levels where it could go really, really smoothly, or it can get pretty ugly depending on how you're able to swim, because Lakitu's movements and the way he throws those spinies are actually dependent on how Mario makes his way through the water. As long as you play out the level consistently, you could pretty much expect consistent results.
So we get 2 forts to start with World 8, and we start with 6F1, which, with that star, DLP just flies through that first section. Holy smokes.
Yeah, we'll see if he can pick up a star here, and yeah, he'll be able to get the quick kill and boom boom, but I'm sure he didn't mean to lose that Fire Flower along the way. Those rotodiscs can be a bit of a pain.
Those rotodiscs can be rude.
We didn't really notice any particularly rude levels this time around. We didn't get any Atlantis or 6-6 or 7-5.
Although DLP is not bothering with 2-4, wants to get by without having the hand grab, but the hand is not having it.
DLP knows for a fact that playing the Air Force is going to be what's needed in order to break that lock. So if he already has a hammer in his inventory, he'll might as well just skip it and then just save himself the trouble. So definitely a good strategy move on his part. On the 7-6 beta coming up right now, there's not going to be any enemies in this level, so he's just going to have to rely on doing some rapid A presses to make his way up those waterfalls as quick as possible.
Also, a bit of a 5-2-ish beta when you consider all that water and all that waterfall.
That's true. One thing I noticed just a couple days ago is that if you take the P-Wing through the 7-6 beta, and then you come out that exit pipe and then just fly up over the wall, you'll find a doorway that would take you to the real 7-6 level.
Well, that is amusing.
I think that there was a bit more patchwork involved as far as that exit goes, because if you play that beta in its original state, the exit is just in the form of a pipe glitch that takes you to just a flat desert layout, and then the level card is pretty much right there with no square around the item.
Meanwhile, we've got ourselves the Air Force, and is this the gatekeeper spot 2 seeds in a row? Fred ran out of iframes on the Piranha plane. Not this time.
DLP is going to have to do a little more digging around if he wants to unlock the bridge to get to Bowser's Castle.
I'm thinking it's that Navy stage.
Of course, it's always going to be the level that's hidden behind the level panel. But he does have a Jugendplatz, so...
Well, the reason why that is because the game knows.
I couldn't tell if DLP meant to grab that leaf there. But I mean, even if not, then, I mean, he still has additional hammer suits in his inventory for Bowser. So, no real loss there.
Also, that was a very well played 6F2 fly into a P-speed strat. That was very well executed and very well done.
Very nicely done indeed. Fred's going to be rounding up the Larry Koopa fight in World 1, and he's going to be joining DLP very shortly in World 8.
And DLP is going to have to play 7 or not. Just take a couple of fish slaps from the Cheep and say, I'll pass, see if I have anything to help. We'll just take the Fire Flower. We'll call that a maintenance pit stop.
While in an ideal world, it would be nice to just clip through all the 4 of the walls right at the bottom of the maze. Having that cheat there just makes things a bit of a pain, because he could just respawn out of thin air, even if you took him out with the Fire Flower, similar to how Boss Bass operates. So your next best option, if you just want to be safe and make sure you don't get trapped between any of the walls that you would otherwise have to clip, especially at the end of the level, just go through it the old-fashioned way. Fred gets the nice quick kill on Boom Boom in 6F1, similar to how DLP did. I don't know if Fred had any of the any more hammers in his inventory, so he's probably not going to take that route to bypass the Air Force.
which in this instance turned out to be 4F2, so the World 4 forts actually weren't in the same world this time.
DLP is trying to close things up. He has his hammer suit and he's in Bowser's castle, so I would imagine he's going to go for the top route again as he did last race. If the clip pays off. Been a little reluctant about trying to go for any more trials because it's very easy to get frame rolled on that platform just because of how long that platform is. So it can be a bit of a pain to have to rebuild arrows by getting as close to the edge of that platform as you can. But nonetheless, he's at Bowser now, so the last thing he has to do is just avoid coming in contact with those fireballs, and he's home free.
And with that, DLP says, so long to King Bowser. Get your GGs in chat.
Very nicely done. DLP takes this 2-0. So now that he has now that his final score is 4-2, he's going to be secured for the tournament brackets. That'll be coming up later on in the tournament. And he has official SRL time of 38:28. Very nicely done indeed. To him shortly, see if he's interested in joining us for an interview.
And Fred has found 7-5. It's got a cheap, and it's in a dead end, so we won't be seeing that again.
Fred's like, I don't want any part of that. One common thing that I've noticed about 7-9, especially in Randomizer, is that depending on how many, just the way the enemies spawn in some of those sections of the maze, sometimes it could be a bit of an object overload that can prevent Mario from just grabbing the white block right away.
Yeah, that's quite annoying to deal with.
So
There's the 7-3 beta. And we're getting some swag as Fred has picked up Karibo's shoe.
Karibo's shoe with the hammer suit, it's not something you see every day.
You definitely don't see bootstraps on an everyday basis, but what we can also say is we've got DLP316 joining us in the booth. GG's and congratulations, you're moving on to the bracket rounds.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you very much. Feels really good.
That was a really solid 2 races, especially in the first one. You and Fred were actually pretty close for about the first 4 or 5 worlds, and then just the fact that there was a bit of a discrepancy in the routing by the time you guys got to World 6 is where we started to see a real divergence by about 2 or 3 levels. But you guys both did a really good job just clearing out those end cards. Both, I think, cleared the board within 2 or 3 worlds.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything too valuable in the first seed end card, maybe a hammer suit. I seem to get pretty timely hammers from Hammer Brothers or the Toadstool letters at the end of the world that sort of helped me in 6 and 7, I believe. So,
speaking of other power-up drops that you probably weren't hoping for, is that like within the first 3 or 4 levels of Seed 1, you just got nothing but stars, and it took you forever until you finally found the mushroom in 1-2.
oh yeah, that was. It's randomizer for you. That was yeah, Seed 2. That was a very interesting start. I was like, well, I could play the tower and waste my time, or I could just go through and just commit to the pipe and the castle and everything. So, I mean, I don't want to get to the top and then have there be a lock and have to come all the way back. So I have no idea if I made the right decision or not. But yeah, it was a little stressful just to have to make that decision right in the beginning.
That's a really good point that you mentioned. There was that split path right in the beginning of World 5 in the second seed, and we actually, yeah, it looks like Fred actually did decide to take the tower, and then once he got to the sky, he played one of the hammer bro fights that you unfortunately had to skip, and that turned out to be a hammer. So he had a bit of an advantage of you going into it right in the beginning. But because you had some, yeah, you guys had some pretty solid level execution, so it didn't take you very long to catch up, nonetheless.
Gotcha. Yeah, that second seed was kind of long. I fortunately had the double hammer in 3, but then it was like I didn't have one in 2, and I had to play. I think we had to play pretty much all but maybe 1 level in 2. It was very long.
I think if there's any consolation prize, just at the end of the day, is that neither of you really had to play any disastrous levels that you would ordinarily want to cloud, something like 6-6 or 7-5 or Atlantis, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's good to see that you were able to make use of those double hammers in World 3, and it actually did pay off because it put you right in front of the pipe that just took you to the Wendy ship right away.
Yep. Yeah, it was. I figured that's probably. I mean, it's usually in 3 if something's behind a lock or like the double hammer or whatever. It usually takes you right where you want to go. So, I mean, I've played enough of these to know that it's probably a wise decision to do that, as opposed to playing 4 more levels and hoping that the hammers are more useful somewhere else.
Speaking of some really good hammer usage, especially in World 8 in this seed, looks like you made the really wise decision to skip the Air Force right on the first map screen, because you knew that was just going to break the lock anyway. Since you already had a hammer in your inventory, you just said peace to that.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I know for a fact it will be useful now, as opposed to, you know, maybe being useful later, and then it ended up being kind of trolly anyways, having to go here and there and around, and had a cloud left that I thought might, you know, be useful, but it really wasn't. So
it's better that you know as soon as possible where it's going to be like immediately helpful to have a hammer, because sometimes if you use it in the dark room, sometimes it could just lead you right into a dead end or a level that you don't have to play. Right,
or a hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm really happy I made the brackets. I lost a playoff play-in match last year, so I didn't make it. So the goal was to just make it this year, and I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like you know, if I put it all together, I can beat anybody. I don't necessarily think that I will, but you know, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how you advance as well. And in the meantime, it looks like fcoughlin just finished up his part of the race. So everybody get your GGs out for fcoughlin. He'll be finishing off with an official SRL time of 45:11.
Yeah. GG, Fred.
All right. So while we're reaching out to him to see if he's going to be joining us for an interview, and there he is. Speak of the devil. So yeah, everybody, we're joined by fcoughlin. GG.
Thank you. Evil, evil, evil. Freedom, right? This is freedom now. Gotta think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Your own creation has turned against you.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well played, though. Both of those races, fantastic times on both of those.
Thank you. Sounds like the first one was neck and neck there through most of it.
Yeah, for at least the first half.
It really was.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for joining the tournament. It seemed like it was kind of last minute, but it really rounded out our numbers and everything. So I really appreciate you stepping in and and racing, and yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I mean, again, thank you to everyone playing. Thank you again, Restream team, for putting this all together, putting a ton of fun matches out there to see things. It's it's always fun getting to play this. I'm not good at Mario 3 in general, but it tends to be a fun experience. I always forget about that bit, and then of course Boss Bass eats me, and well, I remember part of the pain.
You're the only one who's been caught by the ambush Boss Bass lately, or had problems with that big fish. Like Game 2 last night.
That's what I heard. I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I saw the clip. That was pretty darn. That was a pretty sweet clip there.
Just as I finished telling DLP, was that first race was actually pretty close. What were your thoughts? Just going for the first 2 or 3 levels and then just realizing that just every power-up block that you came across just ended up being a star.
That was a little frustrating. I mean, it was nice because it meant that you could kind of run a little bit fast, but I don't play well sometimes, and I tend to take lots of unnecessary damage. So when, I kept saying, okay, I need a mushroom so that way I can at least tank something. Okay, I can't tank anything now. Well, I can run through it, but it's going to run out, and I still need my mushroom, and I still need my mushroom, and that one was a little bit of pain.
Especially in 1-3, it looked like you were trying to go behind the background to see what item that you can grab, but I think the star expired before you had a chance to get past those fire snakes, so you had to kind of abort that mission right at the last minute.
Yeah, if I'd run a little bit more down on the bottom, I might have been able to knock them out, but I went up top not knowing what enemies were going to be there, and when there were 2 fire snakes, I was like, no matter what happens here, I think I fall on top of them, and it would have been painful, so I said, okay, we're just going to run and go for it. I wasn't sure. As I said, early games, you want us to try to find things like hammers and clouds and stuff, so I was hoping that one of those would be back there, but didn't get to work out in that case.
I think I did the 1-3 hidden item on both seeds, and I think the first one was like a star, and the second one was a mushroom, so it wasn't...
Oh, okay. That's not so bad.
You didn't really miss out on it. You probably gained some time there, actually.
We actually saw a significant divergence pretty early in the second seed. Fred, you actually had a bit of an early lead because you decided to take that tower right in that first fork in the road. So because you got to that sky section in a slightly different place, you were able to fight the hammer bro that gave you the hammer, and you had a nice little shortcut going into the airship.
Yeah, that turned out to be a nice little find there. I mean, it just, get up there quickly, and as I said, with the hammer bros, I don't usually like fighting them small with no power-ups, but I think it ended up being a lucky terrain wherever it was, and once I got the hammer, I said, okay, yeah, we can quickly push through that. It made sense to me looking at the map. It was going to save at least a couple of worlds checks. I mean, it might have been more useful later on. I wasn't really sure, but I ended up with a couple of hammers, I think, at the end of the game that I didn't use, so I think it worked out okay.
So there was a lock in front of the airship right in that first World 5?
Yeah, you came up from the tower, and the pipe there was blocked. There was a lock right in front of that. Like, there was the one stage and then the castle. So when you came up through the pipe, you couldn't go through on its own. But I think the fort was the one that was on the lower half of the map. And
that's kind of why I went and just played like the fort and everything, because I was worried that would happen, and it turns out there was a hammer in the hammer bro, so that's crazy.
That was a lucky one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you used the hammer somewhere else that ended up paying things out, so it ended up working out probably, I'm going to guess, for you in the end.
I think it gave me a double hammer in 3.
Oh, gosh, yeah. No, that's... Okay, yeah. Oh, gosh, that was a...
Yeah, that was a big difference in the second race. That double hammer play in 3... I swear, I tell you, when some runners are able to take advantage of it, and they are able to, it can create some pretty significant gaps.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that cut out a good 4 or 5 stages right there, not counting the couple of deaths I had on that portion where I almost game overed on purpose just to try to get lives back. So that definitely would cause a significant jump there. So well done putting yourself in the position to be able to take advantage of that and therefore crush everything. Well done.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like that much of a net gain though, because if you had one hammer for 2, that saved like 3 or 4 levels in 2 because just breaking that rock, I had to play like 3 or 4 levels because I didn't have a hammer in 2.
Yeah, I think I was silly. I don't think I did my math right, and I think I did go the longer path there, but I should have broken it. But
yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here. So thanks, Fred, for the race, and Teeks and Leslie for the commentary and the restream. Appreciate everyone involved, and yeah, thanks a lot. GG's.
yeah, good game to you too, and best of luck to both of you, because you two, I believe, are the two who are advancing now out of Group H here. So best of luck in the bracket phase.
Really appreciate it, Fred. Thank you. And yeah, it's been a big pleasure commentating for all these. I mean, I absolutely love SMB3, and I absolutely love talking about SMB3. So yeah, just to close things out, coming up tomorrow, we'll have S Diesel versus Jetab coming up at on 3 p.m. and that will be commentated by Dark Shadows 59 and Matty J316. And on Sunday, we'll have One Fine Day versus Claris.com at 4 p.m. Commentated by Matty J and Pro A007. So that's going to be doing it all for us tonight as far as the randomizer tournament is concerned. But over on SpeedGaming, the main channel, we'll have the Crystallis randomizer going on. So yeah, it's been a really fantastic race. I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the group matches play out and how the tournament brackets shapes up as a result. So that's gonna do it for me. Leslie Pro, is there anything else?
I do believe you covered it, although it is worth noting that don't forget to follow our two runners, fcoughlin and DLP316. They put on a heck of a show this evening, and they have their own content that's just as good, if not better, than their runs tonight. Their runs were great, but some of the content they do outside of the tournaments is even better.
Yeah, without a doubt, that can't be emphasized enough. Give both of our races a follow. They did a fantastic job. So, yeah, that's gonna do it all for us tonight, and then we'll be back for more tournament races over the course of this weekend. So you're not gonna want to miss it. I'm Teeks88 with Leslie Pro 04. Hope you all have a good night.
Yep, good night. May the boss bass go hungry, but watch out. You never know when he's coming.